Gonna go through. Yeah. There we go.
He didn't know if the laughter was kind, didn't know where to put his eyes, but the lanterns leaned and the shadows moved like the whole world knew what he had to prove. Little master, hold your head high, even when the hat falls over your eyes. Tiny hands, but a fire inside. He was raised in lantern light. Little master, don't you run. You're not prey, you're not undone. Small don't mean you lose the fight. You were raised in lantern light. Raised in lantern light. Little master, don't you run.
Oh, okay. I see what happened. Hello. And who the hell are you? Oh, wait. That's me. You look funny. That's because I cut my hair. Holy shit. Yeah, anyways, welcome to my channel, Haerikyron. For those of you new here, I share a little bit of my music. I mainly tell a story. Perhaps someday stories more than one, but welcome. And those of you who have returned, little lights, wanderers, watchers, everyone who's brave enough to stand beneath the lantern's glow tonight. Before we begin, this menagerie, this storytelling is live. Mistakes stay. Weird pauses stay. The human stays. If I stumble live. This is not made up bullshit. I can take my head off and go throw it and then get mad because I damaged it. I'm not some AI bullshit bot. Hello. Anyways, I wanted to get past that and be very clear. Welcome to the show. This is a live red fantasy serial that wanders through many doors. We began with fear. We walked through claiming. Now we step through becoming. Some chapters lean into action, some lean into drama, some into comedy, wonder, curiosity, understanding. And the horror is not always constant, but it is part of the road. The comedy that I go with occasionally gets sharp near the edges. This show is not made for kids. I just want to make that very clear. This show is not made for your kids. But if you allow them to watch, hello, you spoiled little. See what I'm saying? That said, tonight we return to the story of Little Light, here under the house of Threnzabul, where strange things are never really quite finished being strange. And safety arrives wearing sharper teeth than the monsters outside. Last time, Bim survived his first night beneath Ban's care. He was fed. He was protected. He was given a room, a bed, and for the first time since the nightmare began, he slept without fear. But morning in the menagerie is not always morning, and the moon still hangs above the estate. The halls are quiet, the guard waiting beneath the silver light, and Ban, being Ban, has decided that if Bim is going to meet Threnzabul properly, he must look the part, which is unfortunate because Bim is very small, and Threnzabul's hat is very large. And somewhere in Ban's estate, there exists a tiny formal outfit that absolutely should not go on a child. But fate never cared much for dignity, so settle in, grab your snacks, your drinks, your blanket, your smoke if that's part of your ritual, and tonight we step through the threshold. Tonight the menagerie sees him. Tonight Little Light becomes something the crowd cannot look away from. And somewhere beneath all the laughter, all the velvet, and the impossible lanterns, Destiny begins adjusting its hat. Oh no, it looks like there was an issue. Is that what I'm seeing? No. Okay, never mind. This is why you don't look at your YouTube and undo yourself a little bit while you're doing this, but that's okay. Today's question: have you ever been laughed at for something that later became part of your strength? If you got the cojones, you got the balls Answer it down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And let us get on with the tale. Ooh. Chapter 5. Threnza Buddy. She stepped back, head settling onto her hips, while she looked him over from head to toe. There was open amusement in her face now, but also something underneath it. Approval, not because he looked elegant, because he absolutely did not. The hat swallowed nearly half of his head, forcing him to tilt it back awkwardly just to see. This is real. But for the first time since arriving here, he looked like he belonged somewhere. He looked like he belonged to somewhere. The realization touched Van quietly enough that even she seemed surprised by it. Bim adjusted his hat again with both hands. Why would he like this? Van smiled widely. Because Threnzabul possesses many qualities. That sounds dangerous. It is. What qualities? Van ticked them off her fingers. Powerful, ancient, intelligent, dramatic beyond all reason. She pointed at the oversized hat. And catastrophically vulnerable to small children wearing formal accessories. See, I'm ready. But we got this. Give me a moment. Feng Shui, I gotta slow down. I said this is live and messy. Bim considered this. So he's weird? Ben let out a short laugh through her nose. Oh, little light, her purple eyes gleamed faintly in the mirror. You haven't even begun to understand how weird. The room fell silent in dissatisfaction. Like somehow a little ridiculous image in her head landed exactly the way she hoped. Under his oversized hat, Bim blinked up at her, confused, half hidden beneath black velvet and crimson ribbons, and far too tired to protest properly. The brim kept sliding downward, over one eye every few seconds. Van's grin sharpened. Now for the clothes. Bim immediately looked suspicious. Why did you say that like a villain? Because wardrobe decisions are serious. That sounded evil. It's fashion, Van corrected calmly. There's overlap. And literally, fashion is just battle armor with small flashy buttons for fancy people. But that's okay. I digress. She turned away before he could argue further and paced once across the room, velvet robes whispering softly across the pale floor. One hand rested lightly against her chin while she thought. The problem, apparently, was serious enough to deserve genuine concentration. I literally have nothing in your size. Bim looked down at himself. I'm normal-sized? For a borrower, perhaps. What's a borrower? You currently. That feels rude. Ben ignored him and continued pacing slowly. And we don't have time to go find you something proper. She stopped abruptly. Her eyes spiraled. Wait. A quick turn. Got it. Every instinct in Bim immediately distrusted those words. What does that mean? But Ben had already disappeared into another room. He heard drawers opening. Then several seconds of aggressive rummaging. A soft thump. More rummaging. Where did I put you? Another thump. The faint sound of something metallic falling over. Absolutely not. Don't judge me. Bim glanced uncertainly towards the hallway. The stake creaked once. Helpful. Then came the rustle of fabric being unearthed from whatever Ben apparently stored things too strange, too small, or too emotional, questionable to matter. Until now. Moments later, she returned carrying a bundled pile of dark fabric in both hands. She held it up triumphantly. Well, she announced, technically, this belonged to a stuffed animal. But we're making do. Bim stared. Then slowly lowered the giant hat enough to actually see what she was holding. Tiny clothes. Not child-sized, smaller. A little black waistcoat stitched with tiny silver threads. A dark button-up shirt, no bigger than his torso. Little trousers neatly folded beneath it. Even a miniature crimson bow tie. The entire outfit looked absurdly formal. And horrifyingly adorable. Bim blinked. Whose stuffed animal dresses like a businessman? Ben looked offended by the question. He was a distinguished gentleman. That's worse. He attended tea. With who? Ben hesitated. That's no longer relevant. To this day, I respect that bear for whatever trial removed him politely from society. But I digress. Bim stared at her. Ben crouched slightly to hold the clothes closer. Look at the craftsmanship. It had buttons. Tiny buttons. That's not helping. Ben sighed heavily as though he was being unreasonable. Do you want to meet Threnzabul looking like you escaped a gardening accident or not? Bim looked down at his wrinkled borrowed clothes, then at the tiny formal outfit, then back at Ben. I'm going to look ridiculous. Ben smiled slowly. Oh, little light. Her purple spiraling eyes gleamed with dangerous amusement. That ship sailed the moment I put you in the hat. Bim considered this deeply. Unfortunately, she had a point. Ben straightened again and held the tiny clothes outward towards him. Go on. He took the bundle carefully. The fabric was surprisingly soft beneath his fingers, smelling faintly of cedar, lavender, and old fabric, kept safely for a very long time. Bim frowned thoughtfully at the tiny waistcoat. Did you save these? Ben went silent for half a heartbeat. Only a moment. Then she shrugged one shoulder lightly. I save a lot of things. The answer sounded casual, but something quieter sat underneath it, something older. Children always notice strange sadness faster than adults expect them to. He looked down at the tiny clothes again. I think the bear was fancy. Ben's smile softened despite herself. Yes, she said quietly, he was. A completely black tux. Tiny. Neat. Paired with a deep red velvet cloak that matched her own. It was almost the right size. Almost. Still, a little too large in places, like it had been made for something shaped like a person rather than a person itself. The sleeves hung soft and loose. The collar sat slightly too high. The cloak pulled around his shoulders with dramatic importance. His small body had absolutely not earned yet. This should do, Ben said. Put these on. Come get me when you're finished. It took a while. Longer than Bim would have liked. The shirt swallowed his arms, sleeves hanging well past the hands until his fingertips managed to peek out. The pants bunched around his ankles, folding over themselves in soft black wrinkles. The shoes were stiff and slightly too large, forcing him into an awkward little shuffle every time he tried to walk. And the hat. Already too big from the start. It refused to stay where it belonged. It slipped down over his eyes every few steps until he had to stop, plant his feet, and shove it back up, with both hands. By the time he was done, he felt less dressed and more assembled, like someone had built a very small gentleman out of spare parts and poor judgment. But eventually, he managed. Bim stepped into the hallway, adjusted his hat again with both hands as he made his careful, awkward way back to Ban's door. The cloak trailed just enough behind him to make him feel important in theory and deeply inconvenient in practice. The fabric whispered softly across the floor. Shuffle, slide, stop. Push up the hat. This repeated many times. By the time he reached Ban's door, he was breathing with the quiet determination of a child who had survived horrors only to be defeated by formal wear. He stopped outside her door. Straightened as best as he could. The hat slid down again. He wrestled with it for a moment, then pushed it back up. "Miss Ban," he called out softly, "I'm ready." There was a pause inside the room. The door opened. Ban looked down. For one perfect second, she said nothing. Her eyes moved from the enormous top hat to the oversized sleeves, to the little black tux, to the red cloak dragging proudly behind him. Her mouth pressed into a thin line, a dangerous line, the kind made by someone fighting for their life against laughter. Bim frowned up at her. "What?" Ban inhaled slowly through her nose. "You look..." Her voice strained. Bim waited. Ban's composure cracked. "Incredibly official." His voice brightened softly. "I do? Catastrophically." That didn't sound right, but her tone seemed approving. Ban stepped around him once, inspecting the outfit with theatrical seriousness. She adjusted the cloak at his shoulders, tugged the collar into place, and gently lifted the brim of the hat so he could actually see. "There," she said. "Now you can perceive obstacles. That's useful. Historically and generally, yes." Bim looked down at himself. "The shoes are loud. They announce status. They squeak. Then they announce moisture." He took one careful step. The shoe squeaked. Ban covered her mouth. Bim stared at her. "You're laughing." "I am absolutely not." "You are." "I am perversing dignity." "What?" Ban lowered her hand. Eyes bright with barely contained amusement. "How do you explain dignity to a 5-year-old? Bim considered this. Then, very seriously, he lifted the edge of the cloak. It gave it the immediately smallest dramatic swish. Ban froze. Bim looked up from beneath the massive hat. "Was that good?" Ban stared at him, then slowly placed one hand over her heart. "Oh, Threnzabul is going to be insufferable." "Is that bad?" "For me? Yes. For me?" Ban's grin softened. "For you, little light?" She reached down and adjusted the hat one more time. "It may be perfect." Ban tried to hold the official inspection for exactly 3 more seconds. Then she looked at the hat again, and the last of her composure died quietly in battle. One hand still rested on the door. Her purple eyes moved slowly downward. Hat, cloak, tiny tux, oversized sleeves, tiny squeaky shoes. The expression on her face drifted somewhere between disbelief and absolute delight. Then, a sharp high sound escaped her. "Eee!" Bim flinched. Ban clapped both hands over her mouth. Failed immediately. "Oh my!" A delighted noise escaped her. "Oh no!" She crouched suddenly, eyes widening with open, shameless joy. "Oh no, look at you!" The composure was gone. Absolutely gone. No careful posture, no measured voice, no mysterious dignity, just Ben losing an entire war against winsomeness. A little Threnza Buddy. And there it was. The name. A curse. Like a tiny little velvet prophecy. Anyways, I digress. The laugh that followed burst out before she could stop it. Bright, immediate, and entirely real. She covered part of her mouth for half a second, but it did absolutely nothing to stop the grin from spreading across her face. He is going to love this. Bim stood there beneath the oversized hat, sleeves swallowing his hands, cloak hanging just a little too long, blinking up at her with solemn confusion of someone who strongly suspected he was being made into a joke, but wasn't entirely sure whether that was good or bad. What? Ben waved vaguely. Threnza Buddy. What is that? I have no idea. But you said it. I panicked. That's not how words work. Ben pointed dramatically at him. You don't understand. Look at yourself. Bim looked down. The cloak dragged softly behind him like an overly ambitious shadow. One shoe squeaked. He looked back up. I don't know what I'm looking for. That somehow made it worse. Ben folded inward with another helpless laugh. Oh, absolutely devastating. Bim narrowed one eye suspiciously. Am I funny? Ben tried to answer. Actually tried. She inhaled, straightened, opened her mouth, then looked at him again. At slipping slowly downward, tiny fingers immediately pushing it back up. Serious little face beneath absurd formal wear. The oversized sleeves swayed when he moved. Ben's composure collapsed again. Oh, gods. She turned away and covered her face. I can't. Bim stared. Long pause. Miss Ben? No response. Ben! Her shoulders still shook. Am I being bullied? Ben gasped. Then turned around, looking genuinely offended. Bullied? Yes? I'm celebrating you. That sounds strange. She dropped dramatically onto one knee in front of him and placed both hands on his shoulders. Bim. Serious voice now. Very serious. He blinked. Ben looked him directly in the eyes. You need to understand something very important. A tiny child in formal wear activates ancient forces. She was joking, mostly. Theater has laws, and none of them are safe. But I digress. Silence. Bim just stared at her. Ben stared back with complete sincerity. What? The laws of reality become weaker. That isn't true. It absolutely is. Is it? No. Mostly. Bim looked unconvinced. Ben smiled helplessly at him. Because beneath the hat and oversized sleeves and ridiculous little cloak, he looked so small. So brave, still trying, still standing, despite everything. For all the jokes, all the laughter. Ben could still see it. The exhaustion around his eyes. The careful way he held himself. The way children sometimes tried very hard to look all right because they thought everyone around them needed them to be. And suddenly, the laughter softened, not disappearing, just becoming gentler. Ben reached up and carefully fixed the hat one more time. brushing her fingers slightly against his hair. Her smile eased at the edges. You look wonderful, little light. This time, Bim believed her. And for the briefest moment, standing in the hallway beneath impossible moonlight and ridiculous little clothes, he stood just a little bit taller. She straightened, slipped her deep red velvet robe over her shoulders in one smooth practice motion. The fabric settled around her like flowing wine-colored shadows, rich folds catching silver moonlight from the windows as she adjusted the sleeves into place. Whatever softness the morning had drawn out of her retreated slightly after that. Not vanished, just tuck away. Armor back on. Not for Bim, but for the world outside. I cannot wait to show him. A pause between them, then she thought. He's not exactly known for liking cute things. Ben glanced at him again, saw the oversized hat, the tiny cloak, the serious little face beneath all of it. Her grin returned immediately, touched by a dangerous delight. But this? She looked him over one more time, openly pleased with herself. This is a miniature version of him. I'm curious. Bim looked up at her suspiciously. That usually means something bad. Ben paused with the collar still in her hands. Bim glanced down at his clothes, then back up at her. I feel like I'm being dressed for church. Ben's mouth twitched. Well, she said gently, taking his hand. Not church exactly. Bim narrowed his eyes. Ben leaned closer, her voice softening. But you are being dressed for something important. Her hand found his, warm and steady. Warm fingers, steady grip. Come on. They stepped out together, through the estate, to the quiet gardens where white stone gleamed beneath the pale unmoving moon, and hedges rustled softly in still air. The world outside felt dreamlike in the strange morning night light. Moonlight painted silver across marble pathways. Water whispered through narrow channels running beneath stone bridges. Flowers Bim did not recognize bloomed in careful rows beside the path, soft blue petals opening towards the moon as if it were sunlight. Some folded shut as Ben passed. Others leaned towards her. Bim noticed immediately. Your flowers know you? Ben looked down, then at the flowers, then away. Possibly. That's weird. Yes, it is. The gardens stretched endlessly around them, and possibly larger than they should have been. Courtyards opened into pathways that became terraces overlooking space Bim was certain had not existed from the windows inside. The estate unfolded itself differently from outside, like an enjoyed rearranging certainty. Bim squeezed Ben's hand a little tighter, not because he was scared, because he was still getting used to things. She noticed, but said nothing, just tightened her grip very slightly in return. Ahead, pale pillars rose from the gardens in graceful archways draped in climbing silver vines. Tiny flowers glowed softly beneath the leaves like captured stars. Bim looked between them. Where are we going? The center. Ah, see, I got friends. Hello. I had a haircut, but yeah, I see you enter. Hello, everybody. And back to the story, because we're part there. And we'll take a break around halftime, so it's okay. It is. That sounds dangerous. That too. Sorry, I almost did the wrong voice there, because I wasn't ready for that. One moment. Let me fix my hat and stretch my hair, because it's itchy. Sorry about that. Anyways. They reached the pillars, and then Van kept walking. Bim blinked, because one moment there had only been open space between the columns. Nothing, just moonlight and gardens beyond. Then the air bent, not violently, quietly, like reality itself had exhaled. Light folded inward. The world shimmered. A seam appeared where none should have been. Then, in trebling, like the edge of a curtain made from heat and glass. Color shifted across its surface. Gold, rose, deep crimson. Bim slowed immediately. The opening was not a door. Doors made sense. This looked like reality had briefly forgotten how walls worked. Van? She looked down. Yes. What is that? The way out? Bim stared. Then looked back at the impossible opening. Then at her. Then back again. I don't understand. Ben smiled faintly. It's a threshold. That don't help. She crouched beside him slightly, the opening hummed softly now, not loudly, just enough to feel through the soles of his oversized shoes, like distant music hiding beneath sound. Dan brushed a hand lightly over his shoulder. Little light, her voice softened. Things stopped making ordinary sense here after a little while. Bim stared up at her. Do they start making new sense? Van paused, actually paused, then slowly, very slowly, smiled. Well, a tiny laugh escaped her. That was annoyingly insightful. Bim blinked. What is that? Ben squeezed his hand, then led him forward. Come find out. And without hesitation, she stepped through, taking him with her. The world shifted as they passed. The calm isolation of Ben's estate fell away all at once, replaced by movement, sound, life. The Menagerie. It spilled out in every direction in a riot of color and motion. Tents in every size rose across the sprawling grounds, some grand in striped jewel tones, others crooked and patchworked. Their canvas walls painted with symbols and scenes Bim could not even begin to understand. Lanterns hung in impossible places, swaying from ropes with no visible support, floating above pathways, dangling beneath awnings that seemed too thin to bear their weight. The midways between the tents curved, split, and crossed one another like they had been dreamed rather than built, winding through spaces that refused to obey any constant scale. People moved everywhere, all kinds, some human, some very much not. Tall figures in elaborate coats and painted faces drifted past shorter ones with horns, wings, tails, scales, or skin and colors no ordinary world would have called natural. Laughter broke out somewhere to the left. Music answered from somewhere further away. Wheels creaked. Fabric snapped in a breeze Bim could not feel. Voices rose and overlapped in a dozen unfamiliar tones. The whole place pulsed with restless energy, alive in a way Ben's estate had not been. It was beautiful and overwhelming. Bim's hand tightened slightly in Ben's. The hat slipped again, drooping over one eye, and he pushed it back up with his free hand, just in time to see a towering figure with too many rings smile down at him as they passed. Farther ahead, someone with glowing blue antlers balanced a tray of steaming cups while arguing with a bird wearing spectacles. A person no taller than Bim darted between the tents. With sparks trailing from their shoes. A woman made entirely of folded paper and turned the corner and unfolded briefly into a flock of white cranes before becoming herself again. Bim stopped walking. Van stopped with him. Is that normal? Van followed a stare. The paper woman waved politely. Van waved back. For her? Yes. Bim stared harder. That's not what I meant. I know. The menagerie smelled like too many things at once. Hot sugar, smoke, rain on canvas. Roasted nuts, perfume, horsehair, polished brass, something spicy sizzling in a nearby grill, something floral and sharp drifting from a tent covered in silver bells. The scents tingled together in the air until it tasted like one strange, sweet, smoky scent, alive yet different. A burst of applause erupted somewhere nearby. Bim jumped. Van's hand tightened gently around his. Stay close, she said. I am. Closer. He stepped nearly immediately. The crowd flowed around them without touching him. Every passerby somehow adjusted at the last second as though guided by invisible rules. No one bumped him, no one crowded him, but many looked. Not politely, not rudely. Quick glances, curious smiles, raised brows. The oversized hat had gotten attention first, then the little black tux, then the red cloak, then Bon. And the moment they saw Bon, most of them looked away very quickly. Bim noticed. Why do they stop staring when they see you? Van kept walking. Because they have survival instincts. Oh. Do I? You're developing them. That did not sound encouraging. They moved deeper into the menagerie, past tents painted with maroons, teeth, stars, masks, doors, eyes, and flowers that slowly opened and closed across canvas as if breathing. Music drifted from every direction, but never became noise exactly. Somehow, each melody wound around the others without fully clashing. A violin laughed. A drum responded. Somewhere a calliope wheezed, a bright and crooked tune that made Bim think of painted horses spinning endlessly beneath golden lights. The menagerie was not merely alive. It was awake, watching. Bim clutched Ben's hand tighter. It's too much, he whispered. Ben looked down at him. Her expression softened immediately. I know. She guided him towards the edge of the path, giving him a moment beside a low fence wrapped in glowing ivy. The leaves pulsed faintly blue when his cloak brushed them. You don't have to understand all of it, she said quietly. Not today. Bim nodded, though his eyes kept darting everywhere. A small creature shaped like a rabbit with moth wings hopped past his shoe and sneezed glitter. Bim stared. Van sighed. Don't touch those. Why? You'll sparkle for a week. He thought about it. Would that be bad? For Threnzabul? No. For me, absolutely yes. The rabbit sneezed again, then fluttered away. Bim watched it go, then very carefully pushed his hat back up. I think this place is weird. Van glanced down towards the endless tents, the floating lanterns, the impossible roads, the crowd of beings moving through the moonlit carnival like it was the most natural thing in existence. Yes, she said, and after a moment, but it keeps its own. Bim looked up at her. The word, they seemed to matter. Ben's grip on his hand remained steady, and for now, she said softly, that includes you. Up ahead, someone with markings glowing softly along her throat argued cheerfully with a woman balancing three flickering lanterns in one arm. Everywhere Bim looked, there was something new, something impossible, something that should not have existed, and yet they plainly did. The Menagerie did not feel like a place hidden from the world. It felt like a world all on its own, and Bim, dressed in borrowed velvet and a toy-sized tuxedo, walked into its heart like a child being quietly delivered into the center of a story far larger than he understood. And all of them stopped. Heads turned. Conversations died. Footsteps slowed. The constant movement of the Menagerie hitched around them, like the whole place had taken a sudden collective breath. Eyes locked onto them, or more specifically, him, a small boy in an oversized black tux, drowning in sleeves, deep red velvet cloak trailing just behind him, a massive top hat that he had to keep holding up with both hands while he walked. A smaller, softer, absurdly accurate echo of Threnzabul. They fell silent. Absolutely silent. Then, somewhere to the left, a cup shattered, not dramatically, just dropped. Clink. Crash. No one looked. No one moved. A small man with crystal antlers slowly lowered to the drink he had been raising towards his mouth. A woman with 6 elegant arms froze halfway through braiding ribbons into someone's hair. 2 masked performers stood on top of a nearby wagon, stared openly. One pointed. Slowly, very slowly, Bim looked up at Ben. Why did everyone stop? Ben had gone suspiciously still beside him. Very still. The sort of stillness people entered in moments just before disasters. Her mouth twitched. Just once. No. Bim blinked. No what? No. Another twitch. No, no, no. Bim stared. Ben? Somewhere further down the road, someone inhaled sharply. Oh my gods, another voice. Is that? No. Another. That's adorable. The Menagerie exploded. Sound crashed back all at once. Oh my god, look at him. A tiny master. And at that exact moment, I pretty much became public property. But I digress. No, no, no. Look at the hat. Who did this? I love him. He's so little. He has the cloak. Why is he so formal? The light erupted through the midway. Bim froze. Completely froze. His eyes widened beneath the giant hat as the people suddenly leaned out of tent entrances, peeked from wagons, and outright changed direction just to stare. Someone audibly squealed. Someone else clutched their chest. A woman carrying an armful of flowers whispered, I would die for him. Bim looked horrified. Ben? Ben slowly covered her face with one hand. Ben! His shoulders shook. Ben! She lowered her hand just enough to reveal the expression trapped somewhere between betrayal and absolute victory. Oh no, Bim stared. Oh no, it's happening. What's happening? Ben pointed weakly towards the crowd gathering around them. The thing? What thing? The ancient forces. Bim looked around wildly. The tiny form aware curse? That isn't real. It absolutely is. A voice somewhere nearby shouted, Little Master! The crowd gasped collectively, because yes, that was better. All right. So, we're about halfway there. It's pretty warm today. I'm probably going to step up and use the facilities, but I will play a song for a moment while I step away, and after that we will get into the halftime, which I call a ritual, which I'll go ahead and explain that. And actually we'll probably do that before I disappear. Actually, that sounds good. Sure, let's do that. All right, so every time, about halfway, every time we get this far in, we take a small break, somewhere between this many fingers plus that many, so like 15 minutes. Yeah, I did that. Anyways, the whole point is whatever it is you do, right? I don't care if you grab a Snickers at 1 a.m. If you smoke cigarettes, stop fucking smoking. Just stop it. But I can't stop you. Partake. That's what this is about. If you smoke marijuana, if you do dabs, partake with me. If you drink, be sure you are somewhere safe. If you are partaking, whatever, that if it's an illicit substance, be sure you are somewhere safe to do so. Otherwise, just listen. I'm about to partake in the dabbing with 100% seriousness. Okay? Now, sometimes I bring up messages about things, but today we're just going to kind of relax. 4th of July is next weekend. Yeah, truck drive is boring. Yeah, definitely, for sure. Yeah, I can check out trap. I can check out chat. That's what I'm doing right now. I can see you guys. Every episode I freeze for a moment and check to see if anybody's talking, what's going on. So hello in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and start this up. And so we have, what are we doing? Well, this is the dabbing. I'm going to go ahead and start up. You guys can join me if you haven't already started. If I'm behind, I apologize. It happens. But the rules of the game are simple. Join me. This is to relax. I am never going to bring up 100% politics. I might bring up things important, like check, with your children, stuff like that, or God forbid the TX, what is it? TX 1000, the Terminator becomes real, then hell, maybe something like that. I don't fucking know. We live in a really fucking weird real world, you know what I mean? Really weird. Anything can happen, and well, the Menagerie is no exception, but we don't have to worry about liquid robots, I don't think. Right? Okay. Yeah, we don't have to worry about liquid robots. It's not a thing. Wait, you said someone's working on that. Oh, bullshit. Anyways. Wow, big old hit. Big old rip. Let's do this shit. If I die, I apologize, but I'm going to try to not die. I'm going to try to get up, walk away, go to the bathroom, and come back with some fucking dignity. But if that doesn't happen, I apologize. It's the first. That's a big old rip. I have a fan on me because it is really hot. Oh, I will be getting the hair back during the winter. That's fine. I'll cast the spell, Rogaine. I don't know if you ever heard of it. That's what bald people need to start doing. No offense if you're bald. Just a joke. I got a second hit. Gonna go for 3. I'm not gonna cough, so this is gonna be real simple. I'm gonna throw this tune on. It's gonna go to a screen. By the time it's done, I should be back. I hope you enjoy. It's not gonna be super loud. I'll play it one more time with all the words and everything at the end. But for now,
Tiny shoes on the marble floor, squeak, squeak, everybody turn. Big black hat and a velvet cloak, little spark where the lanterns burn. He stepped out dressed in borrowed thread, hat too wide for his little head, sleeves too long, shoes too loud,
Yeah, I'm back. And yeah, I'm going to talk over it right now because I just stepped away for a moment. As soon as it's gone, I'll get back to reading. We're just giving you guys a little time to get your brains, go to the bathroom, finish whatever you're doing. I'm going to grab me a drink that you guys kind of can see, but don't give a shit. I'm behind the screen, kind of. Good stuff. But yeah, everybody's doing good tonight out there. I'm going to check chat because I know it's been going crazy. Yeah, Jason did come out in DVD. And I've been playing that, actually. That reminds me, thank you for saying that, Dragonborn. The weekend of the 3rd, instead of reading a story, I will be playing DVD. I'm not a killer, so I'll be running around not dying because I'm pretty good at that. Not the best, but it's fun. If you play, let me know. I think I might cut this a little short and get back to reading, but it's fine. You guys have about 2 minutes. It's just something a little different, but yeah. I already have my head together. Technically, I'm ready to go right now. But I know that a couple people are sitting there still struggling, ain't you? Add up of the wind. Ada. Huh? Yeah, I play Nicolas Cage a lot. That's fun. His colors are good. That's all I can say. And yeah, he's broke as hell. I would admit Jason's broken. I ain't gonna lie. I got killed the other day by Jason by nothing but ranged. Just and one of the shots I didn't even see his ass. He was somewhere else. Like, holy shit. But yes, hopefully everyone's having a wonderful night. I think I'm going to go ahead and turn it down, and we're going to get back to reading. Hopefully you're enjoying the tale. I have other ones. The same story, but other chapters. I wasn't doing so good. This is slowly getting better as I'm going. So if it's a little rough, I apologize. But at least you know I'm not some asshole who decided to clone himself with AI and now he's making money while he's going to do something else. No, I'm really here. I got to fucking deal with the falling ear and everything else. Like, oh no, shit happens. It's messy. It's real. And I guess I'll go ahead and fix the screen because my ear's trying to rip itself off today. It does not want to stay, and then it's fine. Anyways, I digress. Back to the story. So let us adjourn back to a little light. Go ahead and throw on some ambient sound, background tunes, and get back to it. Yeah, that's fine, whatever. Little master, someone shouted. That's perfect, someone else shouted. Who said that? I did. Genius! Bim looked up slowly, very slowly. Ben? Ben looked down at him. Yes? I think they're doing a thing. Ben stared at him for 3 whole seconds, then folded in half, laughing. Actually laughing. Hands on knees. Entire shoulders shaking. Because standing there beneath impossible lantern light at 100 delighted eyes, holding up a giant hat with both hands, Bim had somehow become the moment. And the Menagerie had already decided it loved him. A ripple moved through the crowd. Smiles first, then snickers. A hand rose quickly to cover a mouth. Someone turned sharply away, shoulders shaking beneath a coat stitched with moons. Another failed entirely and let out a bright laugh before trying, far too late, to swallow it back. Others didn't even bother trying. Their reactions spread through the crowd in warm little bursts. Not cruel enough to wound outright, but impossible to ignore. Amusement fluttered from face to face like sparks catching dry paper. Bim felt every eye on him. His face grew hot beneath the brim of his hat. One hand tightened around Bond's fingers while the other pushed the top of his hat back into place. Again before it slid over his eyes. The hat immediately tipped sideways. That ain't right. We just had an error. How did that happen? One moment. If I go back? Yeah, everything just reset. That is way off. Like, why did it do that? It shouldn't have done that. It's because we were there, and we were there, and we were there. We should be there, I believe. Or the one back. If we're one too far. I don't know why that happened, but this is what happens. Don't do drugs, kids. Anyways, I digress. Let me get back to this. I apologize. That's just funny, though. What the fuck? A fresh wave of barely contained laughter moved through the nearby crowd. Bim's stomach twisted. He did not know whether he was being admired, mocked, or something stranger in between. Ben kept walking, as if none of them meant anything at all. Her pace never faltered. Her chin stayed leveled. Only a faint upward twitch at the corner of her mouth betrayed her. "Hold your head up," she murmured to Bim. "You're making an impression." The words were quiet, meant only for him. But they straightened something in him anyways. Not much, just enough for him to try. Bim swallowed hard. Then, with all the seriousness a 5-year-old could summon while being slowly defeated by a hat, he lifted his chin. The brim slid down again. He shoved it back up. Ben's mouth twitched harder. "Excellent," she whispered. "Terrifying presence." "I can't see half the terrifying. That makes you mysterious." "I feel blind." "Mysterious often does." The tiny laugh escaped someone nearby, then another, but this time, Bim heard something different in it. Not sharpness, cruelty. As if the menagerie was not laughing at him exactly, but around him, welcoming him into some joke larger and stranger than he could ever understand. A woman with silver freckles pressed both hands into her heart. "He's precious." A man with Ranhorns leaned towards his companion and whispered far too loudly, "Looks like a cheap knockoff." "I do not," Bim muttered. Ben leaned down slightly. "You absolutely do." "What?" The doomed formal shuffle. "My shoes are too big." "You walk just like him." Bim frowned, but kept moving. Step, squeak, step, cloak drag. Hat correction. The crowd parted for him, not because he was powerful, not because he was familiar, because every single person seemed to suddenly invested in watching him reach wherever he was going without falling over. And somehow, that helped. Bim held Ben's hand a little less desperately. He kept his chin lifted. The menagerie watched, smiling, whispering, laughing. And beneath the absurdity of it all, beneath the oversized hat and borrowed cloak, along with tiny tuxedo, Bim felt something unfamiliar settle carefully beside his fear. Not confidence, but the smallest possible beginning of it. Still red-faced, still confused. still half hidden inside clothes that did not quite belong to him. Bim walked forward through the laughter, like it had every right to be there. Somehow, absurd as he looked, that made the whole thing worse for them, and better for him. The crowd's amusement followed him in bright little waves, but it no longer felt quite so sharp. People smiled as he passed, some bowed with ridiculous seriousness. Other performers swept off another performer swept a feather off his hat and placed it in his hand above his heart, as if he was greeting someone important. Bim did not know what to do with that, so he nodded once. Very small, very solemn. The performer nearly collapsed. Ben kept walking. Careful. You'll kill them. I didn't do anything. That's what makes it dangerous. They moved through the campground, weaving between onlookers and shifting lantern light until the path changed beneath them. Another threshold, another crossing. Bim felt it this time. The subtle pull in the air, the strange sensation of stepping between layers of something unseen, like passing through the skin of one place and into the bones of another. His stomach dipped for half a second. The menagerie's laughter and motion thinned behind him, not vanishing but falling away as though it belonged to a different distance entirely. The campgrounds were not the same place as the menagerie was proper. He understood that now. The air changed first, warmer, heavier, scented with old velvet, polished wood, candle smoke, and something faintly sweet beneath it, like sugar left too close to a flame. The lanterns here burned lower, redder. Their light stretched across the path in long, theatrical pulls, guiding them towards a tent larger than any Bim had seen before. Not just larger, but deeper. The master tent rose ahead of them in dark crimson canvas stitched with black and gold thread. Its peaks disappeared upward into shadow, though there should have been only open sky above them. Ropes anchored it to nothing. Nothing Bim could see. The entrance curtains hung still despite movement all around them, waiting. Ban's grip tightened slightly around his hand, not from fear, warning. They entered through the final passage, and everything stopped. The moment they stepped into Threnzabul's tent, sound died completely. The laughter from outside vanished, as if someone had shut a door inside the world. Bim froze. The silence here was not empty. It was arranged. A vast space opened before them, towering canvas ceilings lost in shadow and lantern glow. At the center of it all, Threnzabul waited. Lantern light rose high into the shadow canvas, arced overhead, climbing in golden tiers until it vanished into darkness. Rows upon rows of figures filled the space, all frozen in perfect stillness. No cough, no rustle of cloth, no shifting feet. Should have said clothes. Sorry. It was as if the entire room had been caught inside and held a breath and commanded not to release it. Bim felt Ban's hand in his. Then suddenly, painfully, he became aware of himself again. The big hat, the little cloak, the sleeves swallowing his hands. The eyes on him. So many eyes. The silence held for breath longer, then clapping. Slow. Deliberate. All eyes turned toward the center. There, beneath a single hanging lantern, Threnzabul sat. Once, twice, 3 times. His crimson robe spilled out around him in rich velvet folds. Dark as wine where the shadows touched them. One long leg was crossed over the other. His cane rested across his lap. And his smile was terrible. Not cruel. Worse. Delighted. "Oh," Threnzabul said softly, voice carrying through the entire tent without effort, his spiraling eyes fixated on Bim. "Oh, Ben." Ben stood very still beside him. Bim looked up at her. Her face had gone perfectly neutral. Too neutral, the kind of neutral people wore when they knew they had created a disaster and were waiting to see whether it became funny enough to survive. Threnzabul leaned forward slightly. The lantern above him swayed, though no one touched it. "What," he asked with exquisite calm, "have you brought me?" Bim swallowed. The hat slid down over one eye. He pushed it back up. A ripple moved through the watching crowd. Not laughter, but something dangerously close. Van cleared her throat. "I brought him cordially." Threnzabul's smile widened. "So I see." His gaze traveled over the tiny tuxedo, the oversized cloak, the enormous hat. Bim's solemn, frightened little face beneath the brim. The master of the Menagerie placed one gloved hand over his heart. "I am wounded." Van blinked. "Wounded?" "No one informed me I had been reduced to such a tiny collectible size." A few people in the audience broke instantly. Tiny snickers and choked laughs. Someone coughed under their sleeve with suspicious force. Bim looked back, deeply uncertain. Van's mouth twitched. Threnzabul rose from the chair with theatrical grace, spreading his arms slightly as though addressing a grand court. "Behold," he declared, voice ringing through the tent, "the smaller accusation of myself." That was Threnzabull. One sentence and one whole room it just turned like a lock. The room lost a fight. Laughter rolled through the master tent, warm, startled with delight. Bim froze. Van leaned slightly and murmured, "Hold your head up." Bim did. The hat slid. He caught it with both hands. The laughter grew louder. Threnzabul straightened. The entire tent quieted with him. The cane tapped once on the floor. He stopped before Bim, towering, elegant, impossible. Then he bent slightly at the waist and studied him with a grave seriousness. Bim stared back, clutching the brim of his hat. Threnzabul's expression softened by the smallest little degree. "Well," he said at last, "this simply will not do." Bim's face fell, then stiffened. Then Threnzabul reached out, adjusted the hat with the careful grace of gloved fingers, and tilted it at a far more dramatic angle. Threnzabul remained bent before him for one lingering second, studying the tilted hat with grave approval. "There," he said. "Now it has intention." The hat did not have intention. It had weight and vendetta. Anyways, I digress. Back to the story. Bim held the hat with both hands. "Is it intention supposed to be heavy?" The master tent cracked again. Bim hesitated only slowly before taking another tiny step forward. He moved further into the open space with one hand still holding up the brim of his oversized hat. His shoes squeaked faintly against the polished floor. The sound echoed. Someone in the crowd made a strangled noise. Van's eyes narrowed. Silence returned instantly. You have been here but a single night, Threnzabul continued, his gaze circling the boy with obvious delight. And you already arrived dressed like a formal accusation. Bim blinked up at him. Is that bad? Threnzabul's grin sharpened. On the contrary, it's magnificent. A quiet ripple moved through the crowd. Van folded her arms. Don't encourage him too much. My dear Ban, Threnzabul said smoothly. I would never. You absolutely would. I absolutely am. His attention returned to Bim. I mean, look at that. Who could possibly look away from that? Ban shot him a sharp look. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The look said very clearly, don't make him feel like a toy. Threnzabul saw it. And for the smallest moment, the amusement in his face gentled into something more careful. Then he leaned forward, cane resting across his knees. Tell me, little master, he said softly. Can you see beneath that hat? Or has Ban delivered me a decorative child? Ben pushed the brim of his hat up with both hands. I can see sometimes. The room gave way. Laughter burst out across the tent before anyone could stop it. Even Ben turned her face slightly to the side. Threnzabul placed one gloved hand over his heart. Sometimes, he repeated deeply moved, a visionary already. Ben frowned. I don't know what that means. Excellent. Neither do most visionaries. Ben sighed. Threnza. Yes. He lifted one hand lazily. No philosophy before the child has shoes that fit. My shoes fit, Bim said. Emotionally they fit. They announced every step, like the government. One shoe squeaked again. Threnzabul looked at it. Bim looked at it too. The tent went very quiet. Threnzabul's smile returned with a devastating slowness. Do they? Bim lowered its gaze. A little. Emotionally. Van closed her eyes. The crowd unraveled immediately. Something in it landed anyways. Threnzabul physically recoiled, leaning back just slightly as though he had been swatted by the force of Ben's irritation alone. Yeesh, he muttered, rubbing the side of his face. I felt that. He glanced towards the crowd with exaggerated offense. Did anyone else feel that? A ripple of laughter spread through the tent, warmer this time. The kind that came easier once Threnzabul decided it was allowed. Bim shifted awkwardly beneath all the attention. One hand gripped the brim of his oversized hat, while the other tried to keep his little coat from slipping crooked. Beneath the tent's vast lights and weight of so many eyes, he felt every inch of himself, small, overdressed, and entirely out of place. The floor beneath him gleamed dark and polished, reflecting lantern light in warped golden pools. Somewhere above the canvas arced an impossible shadow. The air smelled of velvet, smoke, sugar, and old magic formed beneath too many watching bodies. Threnzabul leaned forward again, studying him with renewed interest. Well now. His grin sharpened. Look at this. The words curled through the air like he had just discovered some delightful little joke the world had hidden specifically for him. A miniature me. The crowd murmured. A few laughed again. Softly, carefully. What's going on there? There we go. You. Make sure it's right. Van folded her arms, visibly pleased with herself, and somehow under the grave, the gaze of the throne, the laughter, and the spiraling eyes that never seemed to blink enough, Bim had a strange sinking feeling that this was either the beginning of being adored or the beginning of being claimed, or possibly both. Threnzabul rose from the throne again. Oh, see, I have it all wrong. That's my fault. My picture needs fixed, but it's okay. The entire tent quieted with him. His cane tapped once more against the floor. Another talk. Bim felt the sound in the soles of his shoes, which were too large for him. Threnzabul descended the steps with slow, graceful amusement, crimson robes whispering beside him. He stopped directly in front of Bim, lowering himself just enough to study the child at level. The oversized hat slipped. Bim shoved it up again. Threnzabul smiled. Remarkable. Bim swallowed. Thank you. Oh, manners too. Threnzabul placed the glove over his heart. Ben, you've outdone yourself. I probably should have said it like him, and I apologize. Oh. Live and messy. Oh, manners too. There you go. Threnzabul placed one gloved hand over his heart. Ben, you outdone yourself. Ben lifted her chin. I know. That was not humility. I'm aware. Threnzabul looked delighted. Then his attention returned to Bim. The humor softened into something stranger, not gone, but quieter. You are not a toy, he said. That was the first time the joke stopped feeling like a joke. I digress. Back to the story. The tent became very still. Bim looked up at him. Threnzabul's spiraling eyes held his with unsettling gentleness. You are not a costume. You are not a trick. Not merely something small dressed like something grand. His cane angled lightly beneath Bim's chin, not touching, only guiding his attention upward. You are Threnza Bim. The name moved through the tent, low, warm, and accepted. And if they laugh, Threnzabul continued, glancing towards the crowd, they laugh because wonder has caught them unprepared. His smile returned. And because the hat is absurd? Laughter spilled through the crowd again. Bim looked down, cheeks hot. Ben leaned close enough to murmur, both things can be true. Threnzabul nodded solemnly. Precisely. Dignity and ridiculousness are siblings, twins, in my experience. Bim frowned. I don't understand. You will. That keeps happening. Yes, Threnzabul said. Annoying, isn't it? For the first time in the master tent, Bim almost smiled. Small, unsure, but real. And Threnzabul saw it. His grin softened at the edges. Then he straightened to his full height and turned towards the watching Menagerie. Behold, he declared, voice filling the vastness of the tent, our newest little master. Bim froze. Ben's hand found his shoulders instantly, steady and warm. And let it be known, Threnzabul added, cane lifting slightly, that anyone who makes him feel unwelcome will answer to Ben first. A murmur moved through the crowd. Ben smiled. Not nicely. Threnzabul's eyes gleamed. And then to me. The silence that followed was immediate, respectful, deeply practical. Bim looked around at hundreds of faces watching him. Not laughing now, not exactly. Smiling. Curious. And careful. The hat slid down again. He pushed it back up with both hands. A few people visibly struggled not to melt. Threnzabul sighed, deeply pleased. Yes, he murmured. This will do beautifully. I was going to go with Threnza Buddy. Threnzabul barked out a laugh. Loud. Open. real enough to shake through the tent and pull more laughter in from the crowd with it. Ha! He leaned back slightly, one glove, and pressed briefly against his chest. Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. Ben looked entirely too pleased with herself. Bim did not know whether Threnza Buddy was better or worse than Little Master, but he suspected both were dangerous. Threnzabul straightened in one smooth motion, cane settling lightly against the floor. His cane tapped lightly with each step. Steady and controlled, the sound crisp against the hush that followed his amusement. Then his tone changed. Not softer, just broader, larger than the joke, larger than Bim. He turned slightly, opening the moment to the entire tent. Now then. There was a pause, small and measured, perfectly balanced. The laughter faded at once, not crushed, but gathered and held. Threnzabul stood at the center of the master tent beneath the glow of thousands of lanterns. His gaze swept across the crowd, and every face turned fully towards him. Witness him. The crowd the words rang through the tent. Bim went still. Ben's hand settled gently between his shoulders again, not pushing him, just there. This child came to us through dark pursuit, Threnzabul continued. He crossed into our domain without invitation, without validation, and without permission from any door that should have known better. Somewhere in the tent, someone murmured uneasily. Threnzabul smiled faintly. Yes, that concerns me too. The unease deepened. Then his gaze lowered to Bim again. But he survived. The words landed differently, quietly, almost proud. He ran through blood and shadow, borrowed voices. He reached our lantern light with terror behind him and no world left certain beneath his feet. Bim's throat tightened. He looked down. The hat slipped. This time, he did not fix it immediately. Ben did, carefully, gently. Threnzabul's voice softened only at the edges. He gave his name. He accepted shelter. He stayed here now beneath my tent, under my house, within my menagerie. His smile returned, smaller now. And wearing my hat very poorly. The crowd laughed again, warm but soft. Enough to ease the weight without breaking it. Bim's face burned. Ben murmured, He's not wrong. Bim whispered, I know. Threnzabul lifted his cane slightly. From this moment forward, he is Threnza Bim. The name moved through the tent like a bell struck gently in the dark. Little Master, if you must. A ripple of delight, amusement rippled through the tent. Threnza Buddy, only if you wish to see Ben perish from pride. Ben muttered, Coward. Threnzabul ignored her beautifully. But know this. His voice deepened. The lanterns overhead burned steadier. He is not a decoration. He is not merely spectacle. He is not prey. The last word struck the tent cold. Bim felt it in his bones. Threnzabul's gaze swept the crowd. He is under my house. Silence followed, heavy, absolute. Then every lantern in the master tent flared gold at once. Yes, everyone, he said, voice carrying with effortless authority. I would like to introduce you to my... He rested one gloved hand slightly over his chest, severing the word before allowing it in the air. Fate du hinge. The ripple moved through the crowd at once, subtle at first, then sharper. The word meant something here. Bim could feel that much, even if he didn't understand it. The mood in the tent shifted beneath him, amusement thinning into attention tightening into scrutiny. Ben went still beside him, not surprised. Worse, she was prepared. And a future tent leader. The reaction was immediate. Voices rose. Not cheers. Jeers. A child? The word cracked through the room before anyone could stop it, quietly followed by others, harsher for being half muted and entirely sincere. A human? Laughter is warm until it stops. I digress. Back to the story. Really short. You expect that to hold the center? The center chooses strength, not pity. He won't last a week. The warmth of the laughter vanished all at once. Vim felt the change like cold water poured down his back. A moment ago, he had been a joke. Now he was something worse. He was a mistake. His face burned beneath his oversized hat. His hand tightened around bands until his fingers hurt. The little tux suddenly felt heavier, the cloak too bright, the hat too ridiculous. Every eye that had seemed delighted before now felt sharp enough to cut. Threnzabul did not move. He stood at the center of the tent, smile in place, but something colder had woken beneath it. Van's hand still remained on his shoulder, firm, steady, and protective. The jeering continued, an uneven burst. He's barely named. He still smells like the outside world. He's human. Second time I said that one, but yes. That one landed the hardest. Bim didn't know why. Only that the word sounded different here. Not simple, not descriptive, like accusation. Threnzabul lifted one finger. The entire tent fell silent instantly. No lingering mutters, no restless shifting, nothing. The silence obeyed him. His spiraling eyes moved slowly across the crowd. How fascinating, he said softly. No one answered. You mistake small for weak. A pause. His cane tapped once against the floor. Every lantern in the tent dimmed. You mistake new for empty. Another tap. The shadows beneath the rows of seats pulled inward. And worst of all, Threnzabul smiled thin, you mistake my announcement or a request. Almost choked on that one. But it's okay. I did not know what fate to hinge meant, but the room did. The tent held its breath. Bim stood very still beneath Ben's hat, heart pounding so hard he could feel it in his throat. Threnzabul turned slightly, looking back down at him, and for one strange second the terrible weight of his gaze softened, only for Bim, only enough to be seen. Then he faced the crowd again. This child reached the lantern light when the dark itself hunted him. The voices grew quieter, the kind of quieter that made everyone listen harder. He crossed a boundary no child should have ever found, entered the domain that did not open for him, and survived a thing many of you still refuse to name. No one spoke now. No one dared. Threnzabul's eyes burned brighter beneath the brim of his hat, almost gold. So, yes, a smile returned, sharp as a blade. A child. He let the word hang. A human. Another long dramatic pause. My fate to hinge. Ben's fingers tightened once on Bim's shoulder. That squeeze meant one thing. Stand. So Bim did. And if you made it this far, thank you. Truly. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sitting through the story. Thank you for stepping beneath the lantern light with me. Bim has now been seen by the Menagerie. He's been laughed at. He's been welcomed. His name has been changed challenged and placed beneath the house, much larger than he currently understands. On Friday, July 10th, we will continue with chapter 6, Fate to Hinge. So don't forget to like, subscribe, share this with someone who might enjoy, a strange story about a lost child, possibly with impossible tense, dangerous kindness, and Destiny wearing a hat that absolutely does not fit. Until next time, be gentle, be kind, check on your people, and remember, if you're out there in the sky or in the sea or even on the road, be safe. Someone loves you. There's always a lantern light somewhere in the dark. I'm going to close out as I usually do with my title, the lyrics, and when that's done, it's going to go black. So I wish you good night, little lights, and hopefully see you next time. I have an error. Good job. That's fine. It's a little behind. Good night, everybody.
He stepped out dressed in borrowed thread, hat too wide for his little head, sleeves too long, shoes too loud. Still he walked through the watching crowd. Band held tight, but she tried not to laugh. Whole street froze when he crossed their path. Someone whispered, someone cried. Look at him, he's got the stride. He didn't know if the laughter was kind, didn't know where to put his eyes, but the lanterns leaned and the shadows moved like the whole world knew what he had to prove. Little master, hold your head high, even when the hat falls over your eyes. Tiny hands, but a fire inside. He was raised in lantern light. Little master, don't you run. You're not prey, you're not undone. Small don't mean you lose the fight. You were raised in lantern light. Lantern light, lantern light. Hat won't stay, but he stands upright. Lantern light, lantern light. Little master in lantern light. Crowd went quiet, then the whole place cracked. Cup hit stone and the sound snapped back. Tiny master, somebody yelled and the menagerie lost itself. He looked scared, but he didn't break. Every step had a squeak and shake. Cloak dragged low like a crimson flame. Too small for the title, but he wore the name. Band said, walk like you belong. So he walked while the crowd sang on. Not proud yet, not fearless still, but courage starts as a little will. Little master, hold your head high, even when the hat falls over your eyes. Tiny hands, but a fire inside. He was raised in lantern light. Little master, don't you run. You're not prey, you're not undone. Small don't mean you lose the fight. You were raised in lantern light. Squeak, step, go, drag, gold eyes, big hat, small boy, bright flame, lanterns know his name. Squeak, step, go, drag, gold eyes, big hat, small boy, bright flame. The little master wears the name. Then the master tent went still. Red light climbed and the air stood cold. Threnzabul smiled from a velvet throne like the whole world did what it was told. He said, not a toy, not a trick, not a costume, not a joke. Not something small for you to break. Not prey beneath your smoke. The black hat and a velvet cloak, little spark where the lanterns burn.
All right. Well, thank you for watching, and be safe out there. Have a good night, everybody. Be safe for the holiday.